The shoebox hit the concrete floor with a sound I'll never forget. Not loud, just final, like something breaking that can't be put back together. I was standing in Trevor's garage, my son's garage, trying to sort through his tools, his projects, the half-finished life he'd left behind. The box fell from the top shelf when I reached for his toolbox, and when it hit, the lid popped off. Receipts, dozens of them, scattered across the oil-stained concrete like accusations. I bent down to pick them up, just cleaning up a mess, just organizing my dead son's things. Then I saw the dates. Then I saw what he'd been buying. Then everything I thought I knew about March 15th shattered into 1,000 pieces. Before I tell you what happened, before I show you how a mother's grief became a mother's mission, I need to know, where are you right now? What city? What state? Drop it in the comments, because this happened in Phoenix, Arizona. Hot, dry Phoenix, where the sun beats down on secrets and lies the same way it beats down on everyone else. And what I'm about to tell you, it started with a phone call that destroyed my world, but it ended with the truth. It always does. 6 weeks earlier, I was supervising lunch service at Madison Elementary. I'd been a cafeteria manager there for 11 years. Good job, steady. I knew every kid's face, every allergy, every favorite meal. My phone rang at 12:17 p.m. Phoenix Police Department. Mrs. Coleman, this is Officer Bradley Morrison. There's been an accident involving your son, Trevor Coleman. The tray I was holding clattered onto the counter. What kind of accident? Ma'am, I think you should come to Phoenix Memorial Hospital. Are you able to drive, or should we send... What happened to my son? The pause told me everything. There was a single vehicle collision on Route 60. His car left the road at high speed. Mrs. Coleman, the doctors are doing everything they can. I don't remember the drive to the hospital. I don't remember parking. I remember running through those automatic doors. I remember the smell of antiseptic and floor cleaner. I remember a doctor with kind eyes and a terrible expression pulling me into a quiet room. Mrs. Coleman, I'm Dr. Sarah Patel. I'm very sorry. We did everything possible, but your son's injuries were too severe. He passed away 20 minutes ago. Trevor was 28 years old. He was a software engineer at a tech startup downtown. He was married to Lauren for 3 years. He was training for a marathon. He was obsessed with fixing up his 2018 Honda Accord, said he was going to make it run like new. He was my only child. And just like that, he was gone. What happened? I heard myself ask. How did his car just leave the road? Dr. Patel's expression shifted, uncertain. The police said it appeared he was driving at high speed and lost control. The car rolled several times before hitting a concrete barrier. Trevor never speeds. He's the most careful driver I know. I understand, Mrs. Coleman. The police will investigate and provide more information. But they didn't. The investigating officer, Detective James Kowalski, came to my house 2 days later. He stood in my living room, hat in his hands, wearing an expression I'd seen 100 times on TV, the routine tragedy face. Mrs. Coleman, I've reviewed the accident scene and the vehicle. Based on the evidence, this appears to be a case of excessive speed on a curved section of highway. The road was dry, visibility was clear, there were no signs of another vehicle involved, no mechanical failure evident at the scene. I stared at him. Mechanical failure? Did you check for that? Ma'am, the vehicle was severely damaged in the rollover. We conducted a standard examination, no obvious signs of brake failure or steering problems. Sometimes these things just happen. I know that's not the answer you want to hear. My son was a careful driver. Detective Kowalski's expression softened into something worse than indifference, pity. Mrs. Coleman, I've been doing this for 18 years. I know you want an explanation, but sometimes there isn't one that makes sense. I'm very sorry for your loss. He left. The case was closed. Excessive speed, driver error. Trevor's funeral was on a Tuesday. 200 people came. Co-workers from the tech startup, friends from college. Half of them kept saying the same thing. I can't believe it. He was such a safe driver. This doesn't make sense. Lauren stood beside me at the service, my daughter-in-law, 26 years old and already a widow. She wore black and cried into tissues and accepted condolences with a trembling voice. He was my everything, she told person after person. I don't know how I'll go on without him. I held her hand. I didn't know it yet, but I was holding the hand of my son's killer. The first 2 weeks after the funeral were a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function. My sister Denise flew in from Atlanta and stayed with me. She made food I didn't touch. She answered phone calls I couldn't handle. She sat with me in silence when silence was all I could manage. Lauren came by a few times. She'd cry, tell stories about Trevor, ask if I needed anything. I'm cleaning out his workshop space in our garage, she said one afternoon. I can't look at his projects. Would you want any of his tools? Yes, I said immediately. I want everything. Of course, I'll bring them by soon. But weeks passed. She didn't bring anything. When I called, she made excuses. I'm not ready yet. It's too hard to go through his things. Maybe next week. Finally, I called her on a Thursday evening. Lauren, I'm coming to get Trevor's tools this weekend. Saturday morning. I'll rent a truck if I need to. Silence on the other end. Actually, Monica, I think I should keep the tools for the house in case I need to fix things. You don't know how to use a torque wrench. I could learn. Something in her voice. Something wrong. Lauren, those are my son's tools. I want them. And he was my husband. Saturday morning, 9 a.m. I'll be there with or without your permission. I hung up. Denise looked at me from the kitchen doorway. That girl is hiding something, she said quietly. Don't start. I'm serious, Monica. The way she acts at the funeral like she's performing, and now she won't let you have Trevor's things? She's grieving. So are you, but you're not acting shifty about it. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to believe that my daughter-in-law, the woman my son loved, could be anything other than what she appeared to be. But Denise's words stuck with me. Saturday morning came. I drove to the house Trevor and Lauren had bought 2 years ago, a nice split level in Tempe with a 2-car garage and a yard Trevor had been planning to landscape. Lauren's car was gone. I knocked anyway. No answer. The spare tea was still under the 3rd flower pot on the left. Trevor had shown me years ago, back when they first moved in. I let myself in. Lauren, it's Monica. Nothing. The house was quiet, clean, normal. I walked through to the garage door and opened it. Trevor's workspace was exactly how I'd seen it last time I visited. Pegboard with tools hung neatly, workbench with his projects. His car, the Honda, was gone, totaled in the accident. But everything else was here. I started with the toolbox. Heavy, red metal. Trevor's pride and joy. As I lifted it, my elbow hit something on the shelf above. The shoebox. It fell. The lid came off, and my whole world tilted. Receipts. I knelt on the concrete and started gathering them. AutoZone, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Pep Boys, Firestone. Dated over the past 6 months. Brake fluid, brake pads, brake line repair kit. My hand started shaking. Cable lubricant, steering fluid, tire rotation service. Why would Trevor need all this? He'd just had his car serviced at the dealership in January. I remembered because he complained about the price. I spread the receipts out on the workbench. 43 receipts, over $3,000 in car parts and services, all for brake work, steering work, tire work, all the systems that would have mattered on March 15th when his car lost control at high speed on a curved highway. A receipt from February 23rd. Brake line inspection and repair, $340. 3 weeks before he died. A receipt from March 1st. Emergency brake adjustment, $120. 2 weeks before he died. A receipt from March 10th. Steering alignment check, tire pressure service, $180. 5 days before he died. My son had been trying to fix problems with his car, problems with his brakes, his steering, his tires, the exact systems that would cause a car to leave the road at high speed. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands, dialed the number on one of the receipts. AutoZone, this is Kevin speaking. Hi, my son was a customer there, Trevor Coleman. He bought brake parts from you several times in the past. Oh yeah, I remember Trevor. I'm so sorry about what happened. I heard about the accident. Did he say why he needed so many brake parts? He hesitated. Yeah, actually, he said his brakes kept feeling spongy, like air in the lines or something. He was worried about it. Came in like 4 times trying to fix it himself before he finally took it to a shop. My vision blurred. Did he say anything else? He mentioned his wife had borrowed the car a few times and said it felt fine to her. He thought he was being paranoid. But I told him, brakes aren't something to mess around with, you know. If it feels wrong, it probably is wrong. I thanked him, hung up, sat on the cold concrete of my dead son's garage, and finally let myself think the thought I'd been pushing away. Someone had been tampering with Trevor's car, making it unsafe, making it dangerous, making sure that eventually, inevitably, something terrible would happen. And there was only one person with constant access to his car. Only one person who could have systematically sabotaged it over months. Only one person who would benefit from his death. Lauren, my daughter-in-law, my son's killer. I gathered every receipt, photographed them all, put them back in the shoebox, left Trevor's garage exactly as I'd found it, locked the door behind me with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. I didn't confront Lauren, not yet, because I learned something important over my 11 years managing a school cafeteria. When you suspect someone of stealing from the kitchen budget, you don't accuse them immediately. You gather evidence. You document everything. You build a case they can't deny. The same principle applied here, except the stakes weren't missing money. They were my son's life. I drove to the first shop on the receipts, Gilbert Auto Repair, a small place off Main Street with 3 service bays and an office that smelled like motor oil and coffee. A man in his 50s looked up from the counter. Name tag said Frank. Help you? My son brought his car here in February, Trevor Coleman. He had brake work done. Frank's expression shifted, recognition and sadness. Trevor, yeah, I heard what happened. I'm real sorry. He was a good kid. Talked my ear off about software development every time he came in. How many times did he come in? Frank pulled up his computer, clicked through screens. Looks like 4 times between January and March. Brake inspection, brake line replacement, brake fluid flush, and a final check 2 weeks before the accident. What was wrong with his brakes? Frank frowned at the screen. That's the thing. Every time he came in, we'd fix what we found, but then he'd come back saying they still felt wrong, spongy, unresponsive. We checked everything: lines, pads, fluid, calipers. We even test drove it ourselves. Couldn't replicate the problem. But he kept saying something was wrong. My throat tightened. What would cause that? Brakes that work sometimes but not others? Frank leaned against the counter, thinking. In my 30 years doing this, only a few things: bad master cylinder that fails intermittently, air in the lines that shifts around, or. He stopped. Or what? He looked uncomfortable. Or someone tampering with them, loosening a connection just enough that it leaks slowly, introducing air into the system deliberately. That kind of thing would cause exactly what Trevor described: brakes that feel fine one day and dangerous the next. Can you prove tampering? Not after the fact, and especially not after a rollover accident that destroys most of the evidence. But Mrs. Coleman, Frank's expression was serious. Your son knew cars. He wasn't paranoid. If he said something was wrong, something was wrong. I slid the stack of receipts across the counter. He spent over $3,000 trying to fix his brakes in 3 months. Frank looked through them. His frown deepened. This is excessive. This is someone who was scared, someone who knew their car wasn't safe but couldn't figure out why. The police said there was no mechanical failure. The police look for obvious signs: snapped brake lines, empty fluid reservoirs. They don't look for subtle sabotage that wouldn't survive a violent crash, especially not if they've already decided it was driver error. I took the receipts back. Would you be willing to talk to the police? Tell them this? Frank hesitated. I'll tell them what I know, but ma'am, without the car to examine, without evidence that survived the crash, I don't know how much good it'll do. I thanked him and left. Sat in my car in the parking lot, called the next shop on the list, then the next, then the next. Every mechanic told the same story. Trevor coming in repeatedly, describing intermittent brake problems, them fixing what they found, but never completely solving it, him leaving frustrated and scared. The last shop I called was Discount Tire. A young guy answered. Discount Tire, this is Brandon. Hi, I'm calling about my son, Trevor Coleman. He had tire work done there in early March. Oh man, yeah, I'm really sorry. Trevor was cool. Can you tell me about the service you did? Let me check. Keyboard sounds. Okay, yeah, March 10th. He came in for a rotation and balance, but while we had the car up, I noticed something weird with his brake lines. My heart started pounding. What do you mean weird? Well, one of the connections looked loose, not falling off loose, but looser than it should be. I tightened it and told him about it. He asked if it could have come loose on its own. I said probably not. Those connections are torqued pretty tight when installed. Usually takes deliberate force to loosen them. What did he say? Brandon's voice dropped. He got real quiet. Then he asked if someone could have loosened it purposely. I thought he was joking at first, but he wasn't laughing. He looked scared. I told him, yeah, technically someone could, but why would anyone do that? He just said thanks and left. Did you tell the police this? Nobody asked me. The accident happened 5 days later. I saw it in the news and felt sick, but I figured the police investigated the car and found whatever caused it. I didn't know I should have called them. I said, you should call them now. Tell them exactly what you told me. Yeah, okay. Should I call the detective who handled the case? Call Detective Kowalski. Tell him you have information about the Trevor Coleman accident. Tell him it wasn't an accident. I hung up. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely grip the steering wheel. 4 mechanics, 4 pieces of evidence, all pointing to the same conclusion. Trevor's car was sabotaged, systematically, deliberately, over months. And I knew who did it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table with the receipts spread out in chronological order, and I started building a timeline. January 12th, Trevor's dealership service. Everything normal. No brake issues reported. January 28th, first AutoZone receipt. Brake fluid. February 3rd, Gilbert Auto Repair. Brake inspection. Customer reports spongy pedal. February 10th, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Brake line repair kit. February 23rd, Frank's Shop. Brake line replacement. March 1st, different shop. Emergency brake adjustment. March 10th, Discount Tire. Brandon finds loose brake line connection. March 15th, Trevor dies. 4 months of escalating problems. 4 months of my son trying to fix something that kept breaking. 4 months of someone making sure his car wasn't safe. I pulled out my laptop and started searching. How to sabotage car brakes. The results made me sick. Forums, articles, YouTube videos, all explaining in detail how to make brake failure look like mechanical problems or driver error. Loosen brake line fittings just enough to cause slow leaks. Introduce air into the system. Contaminate brake fluid. Gradually wear down components. All methods that would cause intermittent problems. All methods that would be nearly impossible to trace after a catastrophic accident. All methods that would give the saboteur plausible deniability. I drove the car and it was fine. I never noticed any problems. He was always worried about things that weren't there. I kept searching. Life insurance payout after car accident. How long to receive life insurance after accidental death? Beneficiary rights, spouse. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I logged into Trevor's email. I'd set up his first email account when he was 12. He'd never changed the recovery email. It was still mine. I reset his password and logged in. His inbox was a mess. Work emails, newsletters, spam. But there was a folder labeled Insurance. I opened it. January 5th, email from Pacific Life Insurance. Your coverage increase has been approved. Your new policy amount is $500,000, effective January 15th. I stared at the screen. Trevor had increased his life insurance to $500,000 1 month before the brake problem started. I scrolled through his sent folder, found the original application from December. Reason for increase: recent marriage, planning for future family, want to ensure spouse is protected. Standard reasoning, nothing suspicious. Except, I opened a new search tab. Can spouse request life insurance increase without the insured knowing? The answer made my blood run cold. No, the insured had to apply and sign all documents, but a spouse could strongly encourage it, plant the idea, frame it as responsible planning. I went back to Trevor's emails. January 10th, Lauren to Trevor. Babe, I was thinking about what happens if something happened to one of us. We should look into better life insurance. My friend Cassie's husband died last year and she struggled because they didn't have enough coverage. December 12th, Trevor to Lauren. You're right, I'll look into increasing my policy. December 15th, Lauren to Trevor. I found a great agent. Can you call him? I already got a quote. $500K would only be $50 more per month. She'd researched it, found the agent, got the quote, all before Trevor even knew they needed more insurance. I kept digging. Found emails between Trevor and his best friend, Marcus Chen. February 20th, Trevor to Marcus. Dude, something weird is going on with my car. Brakes keep acting up. I've had them fixed 3 times and it still feels wrong. February 22nd, Marcus to Trevor. Man, that's bizarre. You think someone's messing with your car? February 23rd, Marcus to Trevor. That's crazy talk. Who would do that? Lauren drives it sometimes and says it feels fine. Maybe I'm imagining things. February 29th, Trevor to Marcus. Can't shake the feeling something's really wrong. Lauren thinks I'm being paranoid. Maybe I am. Those were the last emails between them. 3 days later, Trevor was dead. I sat back in my chair. The picture was forming. Lauren suggests life insurance increase, December. Trevor applies for 500K policy, January 1st. Policy becomes active, January 15th. 2 weeks later, first brake problem, January 28th. Problems escalate over 2 months. Trevor spends thousands trying to fix them. Lauren drives the same car, reports no issues. Trevor starts to suspect tampering, but dismisses it as paranoid. March 15th, Trevor's brakes fail on a curved highway at speed. Car rolls multiple times. My son dies instantly. Police rule it driver error. Case closed. Lauren collects $500,000. I needed proof. The receipts showed Trevor's attempts to fix problems. The mechanic statements showed the problems were real and consistent with tampering. The emails showed Lauren's involvement in the insurance increase. But I needed something more. Something that would prove she'd researched how to sabotage a car. Something that would prove she'd planned this. I needed to get back into that house. I needed to search Lauren's things, and I needed to do it before she realized I suspected anything. I called Lauren the next morning, kept my voice steady, friendly, grieving mother-in-law. Lauren, honey, I was wondering if we could have dinner this week, just the two of us. I miss Trevor, and I know you do too. Maybe we can share stories about him. She hesitated just long enough to make my skin crawl. That would be nice, Monica. Thursday work for you? Perfect. My place, 6 o'clock. I'll bring wine. Thursday. That gave me 4 days. I called in sick to work, first time in 3 years. Then I called Marcus Chen, Trevor's best friend, a cybersecurity analyst who'd been devastated at the funeral. Mrs. Coleman, is everything okay? Marcus, I need your help, and I need you to not ask questions until I explain everything. We met at a coffee shop in Scottsdale. I showed him the receipts, the timeline, the emails, the insurance documents. Watched his face change from confusion to horror to rage. He couldn't finish. You think Lauren killed Trevor? I think she sabotaged his car over months, made it look like mechanical problems, made sure when the brakes finally failed completely, it would look like an accident. Marcus stared at the receipts. Trevor kept telling me something was wrong. I thought he was just stressed from work. Oh my God. I need to search the house, her computer, her phone records, anything that might prove she researched how to do this. That's illegal without a warrant. I know. That's why I'm asking you to help me do it anyway. Marcus was quiet for a long time. When? Thursday evening. I'm having her over for dinner. She'll be at my house from 6 to probably 9. That gives us 3 hours. Us? You know how to access computer files even if they're deleted. I need you there. He nodded slowly. Okay, for Trevor. But if we find something, we take it straight to the police. No vigilante stuff. Deal. Thursday arrived. Lauren showed up at my door at 6:05 p.m. Black dress, perfect makeup, expensive wine. Monica, she hugged me. I've missed you. Liar. Killer. I smiled and welcomed her in. I made Trevor's favorite, chicken parm. Her eyes got teary. He loved your chicken parm. We ate. We talked. She told stories about Trevor that made my heart ache. The whole time, I watched the clock. At 6:15, Marcus would be entering the house. At 6:20, he'd be accessing Lauren's laptop. At 6:30, he'd be searching her browser history, her documents, her deleted files. Lauren said over dessert, "Can I ask you something?" Of course. Why did you want Trevor to increase his life insurance? She blinked. I. What? In December, you pushed for him to increase his policy to $500,000. Why? I didn't push. We discussed it. We were planning for our future. But it was your idea? Her expression shifted, guarded. Monica, I don't understand why you're asking this. Just curious. It seems like a lot of insurance for a young couple with no kids. It's responsible planning. Cassie's husband died and she struggled financially. I didn't want that to happen to me if something happened to Trevor. You were very specific. $500,000. That's what the agent recommended. The agent you found? Lawrence set down her fork. What's going on? Why are you interrogating me about life insurance? I'm not interrogating. I'm just trying to understand. Trevor died 3 months after that policy went into effect. You'll receive $500,000. It just seems... Seems what? Seems suspicious? You think I wanted my husband to die for money? I think it's an interesting coincidence. Lauren stood up. I can't believe this. I loved Trevor. I'm devastated. And you're sitting here accusing me of, what? Wanting him dead? This is insane. Sit down, Lauren. No, I'm leaving. This was a mistake. She grabbed her purse. I didn't try to stop her. Let her go angry. Let her think I was just grief-stricken mother grasping at conspiracy theories. Let her go home and find everything exactly as she'd left it, because Marcus was good at his job. My phone rang at 9:47 p.m. Mrs. Coleman, you need to come to my apartment now. I drove to Marcus's apartment in Tempe. He opened the door looking like he'd seen a ghost. I found it. I found all of it. His laptop was on the kitchen table, multiple windows open. Her browser history from November through March, she cleared it, but nothing's ever really deleted. He pulled up a document. Search queries, dozens of them. How to cause brake failure in a car. Undetectable car sabotage methods. How long for brake fluid leak to cause failure? Life insurance payout after accidental death spouse. How do police investigate car accidents? Can tampering be detected after crash? All searched from Lauren's laptop. All searched in the months leading up to Trevor's death. There's more, Marcus said. She has a folder of saved articles, step-by-step guides on automotive sabotage, forum posts from mechanics discussing how brake systems fail, even a YouTube video on loosening brake line fittings. He pulled up another file. And this, a document she created called Timeline. Want to guess what's in it? He opened it. A detailed plan. December, convince Trevor to increase insurance. January, begin introducing problems with brakes. February, escalate gradually. March, allow final failure. Each step with notes on how to execute it, how to avoid detection, how to react afterwards. There's a video, too, Marcus said quietly. Time-stamped February 14th. Valentine's Day. He pressed play. Lauren, in their garage, working under Trevor's car. My son's killer. Caught on camera, sabotaging his brakes. I watched the video 3 times. Couldn't look away. Couldn't breathe. Lauren, dressed in old jeans and a hoodie, rolling under Trevor's Honda on a mechanic's creeper, wrench in hand, working on something beneath the car. The video was from Trevor's security camera. the one he'd installed in the garage to monitor his projects, the one I'd forgotten existed. "Where did you find this?" My voice shook. "Cloud backup," Marcus said. "It uploads automatically. She must not have known about it. The camera itself was destroyed in the accident. It was mounted in the car, but the footage backed up to his account." "How much footage is there?" Marcus pulled up a folder. 14 videos, spanning January through March. Each one showed Lauren working under the car when Trevor wasn't home. I watched them all. January 30th, Lauren loosening a brake line fitting. February 6th, Lauren drilling a tiny hole in a brake line. February 15th, Lauren adding something to the brake fluid reservoir. March 2nd, Lauren cutting partially through a rubber hose. March 13th, Lauren loosening the brake line connection, the same one Brandon would discover 3 days later at Discount Tire. "She knew," I whispered. "She knew there were cameras." "No," Marcus said. "Look at the angles. These cameras only captured her by accident. Trevor had them pointed at his workbench to record his projects. She was working in a blind spot, but the wide-angle lens caught her anyway." I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" "Calling the police." Marcus grabbed my wrist gently. "Wait. We obtained this evidence illegally. We broke into her house. We accessed her computer without permission. A defense attorney will get it all thrown out." "So what do we do?" He thought for a moment. "We need her to confess, or we need to give the police enough legitimate evidence that they reopen the investigation and get a warrant. The receipts are legitimate. The mechanic statements are legitimate, but they're circumstantial. They show Trevor had brake problems. They don't prove Lauren caused them. The videos prove it. The videos we obtained illegally prove it. There's a difference." I wanted to scream. My son is dead. His killer is walking around free, collecting insurance money, playing the grieving widow, and we can't do anything because of legal technicalities? "We can get her to confess," Marcus said, "if you're willing." "How?" "You confront her. Tell her you found the receipts. Tell her you talked to the mechanics. Tell her you suspect tampering. Don't mention the videos or the computer files. Let her think you're just guessing. See if she slips up. She'll deny everything. Maybe, or maybe she'll panic. Maybe she'll say something incriminating. We can record it." "I'm not wearing a wire." "You don't have to. Arizona is a one-party consent state. You can record conversations you're a part of without telling the other person. Your phone in your pocket with a recording app running is completely legal." I looked at the videos again. Lauren's face concentrated and calm as she sabotaged my son's car. "Okay," I said. "Set it up." The next morning, I called Lauren. "I need to talk to you. Can you come over today?" "Monica, after last night—" "Please, it's important. I owe you an apology." She agreed reluctantly. Showed up at noon wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweater, hair in a messy bun, no makeup, playing the part of the struggling widow. I had my phone in my cardigan pocket, recording. "Monica, come in. Can I get you coffee?" "Sure." We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd spread out the receipts, where I'd built the timeline, where I'd realized the truth. "I'm sorry about last night," I started. "I was out of line. Grief makes me say things I don't mean." She relaxed slightly. "It's okay. We're both hurting. I've just been trying to understand what happened, why Trevor's car failed like that. It was an accident, Monica, a terrible accident. But he just had his brakes fixed multiple times." Her eyes flickered. "He was always worried about his car, kind of obsessive about it. The mechanics said his brake problems were real, not imaginary." "Okay, so he had brake problems and they fixed them. Sometimes these things happen. Except they kept happening, over and over, for months." "What are you saying?" I pulled out the stack of receipts, set them on the table. "I'm saying Trevor spent $3,000 in 3 months trying to fix brake problems that kept coming back. I'm saying every mechanic he saw told him the problems were consistent with tampering. I'm saying someone was sabotaging his car." Lauren's face went pale. "That's insane. Who would do that?" someone with access to his car, someone who could work on it without him knowing, someone who stood to benefit from his death. You think I killed him? Her voice was flat. Did you? No, this is insane. You've lost your mind with grief. The life insurance, Lauren. You pushed him to increase it 1 month before the problem started. That was coincidence. Was it coincidence that you drove the same car and never had any brake problems, that only Trevor experienced them? She stood up. I'm not listening to this. Sit down. Something in my voice made her pause. I found the videos, Lauren. She froze. What videos? The security footage from Trevor's garage, the cameras that backed up to the cloud, the ones you didn't know about. Her face transformed. The mask cracked. I don't know what you're talking about. January 30th, February 6th, February 15th, March 2nd, March 13th, all time-stamped, all showing you under Trevor's car, all showing you loosening brake lines, drilling holes, contaminating fluid. She sank back into the chair. You can't prove anything. The videos prove everything. Videos you obtained illegally. I'll bet you broke into my house, accessed my computer. Anything you found is inadmissible. Smart, prepared, guilty. You planned this for months. You researched it. You executed it. You watched my son die knowing you caused it. You can't prove any of that. Why did you do it? The money? Were you having an affair? Did you just stop loving him? She looked at me for a long moment, and then she laughed. Not a nervous laugh, a genuine laugh of relief. You want to know why? Yes, because I was bored. Because Trevor was boring. Because our life was boring. Because I'm 26 years old and I was stuck in suburban Phoenix with a husband who talked about software and marathons and fixing his stupid car. I wanted more. My hands clenched into fists. So you murdered him. I freed myself. And yeah, the $500,000 helps. I'm moving to Los Angeles next month, starting over. New life, better life. You're a monster. I'm practical. Trevor wasn't going to change. He wasn't going to become exciting. He wasn't going to give me the life I wanted. So I made a new plan. You murdered my son for money and excitement. She shrugged. Call it what you will, but you can't prove it. And even if those videos exist, they're inadmissible. You broke the law getting them. I'll walk away from this. I always do. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, pressed stop on the recording, set it on the table between us. Arizona is a one-party consent state. I can record our conversation without your knowledge, and you just confessed to murdering your husband. Lauren's face went white. She lunged for the phone. I was faster, pulled it back, held it against my chest. I'm walking out of here now. I'm going straight to the police, and I'm going to play them this recording of you confessing to premeditated murder. They won't believe you. They'll investigate. They'll get a warrant. They'll find your computer with all those searches. They'll find your timeline document. They'll find the cloud backup of Trevor's security footage. And when they find all of that with the proper warrant, it'll be admissible. I stood up. You wanted a new life in Los Angeles? You'll get a new life in an Arizona state prison for the rest of your life. I walked out, got in my car, drove straight to Phoenix Police Department, asked for Detective Kowalski. Detective Kowalski looked older than I remembered, tired, like he'd seen too much. He listened to my recording without interrupting, watched his face change from skepticism to shock to anger. When it finished, he sat back in his chair. Mrs. Coleman, you understand this recording doesn't prove she actually did what she's claiming. But it proves she confessed. It proves she said words. A defense attorney will argue she was upset, saying things to hurt you, being sarcastic. Without corroborating evidence, it's just her word against yours about what she meant. My heart sank. But you'll investigate now. Get a warrant? This gives me probable cause, yes. I can get a warrant to search her home, her computers, her phone records. If we find evidence of planning or research combined with this confession, we'll have a case. There are security videos from Trevor's garage. They show her sabotaging his car. Kowalski's eyes narrowed. Where are these videos? Cloud backup from Trevor's security system. And how do you know they exist? I hesitated. I Trevor's friend accessed them. From her computer? From Trevor's cloud account. With a password? Trevor's recovery email was linked to mine. I reset the password. Kowalski nodded slowly. So you accessed your deceased son's account using legitimate recovery methods. That's defensible. And if the security system was his property, backing up to his account, that footage belongs to his estate, which you're the executor of. A judge will allow it. Relief flooded through me. So you can use the videos? If they show what you say they show, yes. Give me the account credentials, I'll get a warrant for the cloud storage and for Lauren's residence. We'll do this right. The warrant was executed 2 days later. I wasn't there. Kowalski said it was better that way. But he called me that evening. We got her. I sank onto my couch. Tell me. Here. Computer files showing months of research on car sabotage, browser history matching what you described, the timeline document laying out her entire plan, and the cloud backup, 14 videos of her working under Trevor's car, clear footage of her loosening brake lines, contaminating fluid, everything. Can you charge her? The DA is reviewing everything now, but Mrs. Coleman, this is one of the most clear-cut cases of premeditated murder I've seen in 20 years. The confession, the planning documents, the video evidence, the insurance motive. She's going to prison. When? We're arresting her tomorrow morning. I wanted you to know before it hits the news. I closed my eyes. Thank you, Detective. No, thank you. We closed your son's case as an accident. We missed this. If you hadn't pushed, if you hadn't investigated, she would have gotten away with murder. Lauren was arrested at 6 a.m. on April 22nd. The news broke by noon. Local woman arrested for husband's murder. Staged accident exposed. My phone exploded with calls. Friends, family, former colleagues, everyone who'd attended Trevor's funeral. Denise flew back from Atlanta. I told you that girl was wrong, she said, hugging me tight. I told you. You did. How are you holding up? I don't know. I don't know. Because part of me was relieved. Justice was coming. But part of me was devastated all over again, because now I knew for certain Trevor's death wasn't a tragic accident. It was murder, planned, executed, by someone he loved and trusted. That knowledge hurt worse than uncertainty ever had. The trial was set for September. 6 months away. 6 months of legal proceedings, 6 months of evidence presentation, 6 months of reliving Trevor's death over and over. But I'd testify. I'd show the receipts. I'd tell the jury about the mechanics, about Trevor's fears, about the pattern. And Marcus would testify about the computer files. And the videos would play in that courtroom. And everyone would see exactly what Lauren had done. The DA, a sharp woman named Jessica Reyes, met with me in July. Mrs. Coleman, I want to prepare you. Lauren's defense attorney is going to argue that she was coerced into that confession, that you, in your grief, created a conspiracy theory and forced her to agree with it. She confessed freely. I know, and the jury will hear the recording, but they'll also hear her attorney claim she was emotionally manipulated by her grieving mother-in-law. We need to be ready for that narrative. What about the videos, the computer files? Those are harder to explain away, but her attorney will try. He'll suggest maybe she was trying to learn about car maintenance to surprise Trevor. Maybe the videos show her doing legitimate work. We have to prove intent. The timeline document proves intent. It does, and combined with everything else, we have an overwhelming case. But I need you to be prepared for her attorney to attack your credibility, your methods, your motives. My motive is justice for my son. I know, and the jury will see that. But trials are theater, Mrs. Coleman. Both sides will tell a story. We just need to make sure our story is more convincing than theirs. The trial started September 12th. Lauren sat at the defense table wearing a conservative dress and minimal makeup, hair pulled back, glasses she didn't need, playing the part of the wrongly accused young widow. I sat in the gallery, front row, every day. Watched the prosecution present their case. The receipts, the mechanics, the insurance documents, the emails, Marcus's testimony about the computer files, my testimony about finding the receipts, talking to the mechanics, recording Lauren's confession, and then the videos. The courtroom went silent as they played. 14 clips of Lauren methodically sabotaging her husband's car. You could see it on the jurors' faces the moment they knew she was guilty. Lauren's defense attorney tried, argued the videos were taken out of context, suggested she was doing maintenance, claimed the confession was coerced. But the timeline document destroyed any reasonable doubt. A step-by-step plan, in her own words, on her own computer. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, came back with a verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant, Lauren Michelle Coleman, guilty of first-degree murder. I didn't cry, just sat there, feeling the weight of 6 months of fighting finally lift. Trevor's killer was convicted. Justice was done. The sentencing hearing was 3 weeks later, October 4th. I was allowed to give a victim impact statement. I'd written it the night before, revised it a dozen times, tried to capture everything I wanted to say. But standing there in that courtroom, looking at Lauren, I abandoned my prepared remarks, spoke from my heart instead. Your Honor, my name is Monica Coleman. I'm Trevor's mother. And I need Lauren to understand what she took from me. She didn't just take my son, she took my future. No more phone calls where Trevor tells me about his day. No more Sunday dinners where he eats 3 helpings and pretends he's not impressed with my cooking. No more of him showing me his latest project or telling me about the marathon he's training for. No grandchildren. No walking him down the aisle at his second wedding after he realized Lauren wasn't right for him. No growing old, knowing my son was out there living his life. She took all of that. Not in a moment of passion, not in self-defense, not in an accident. She planned it for months. She researched how to kill him. She executed that plan step by step. She watched him struggle to fix problems she was causing. She listened to him worry that something was wrong with his car. She comforted him when he was scared. And then she let him drive to his death. Trevor spent his last moments terrified, feeling his brakes fail, knowing his car was out of control, knowing he was going to crash. And it was all because the person he trusted most in the world decided he was boring. Not abusive, not dangerous, boring. So she killed him. For money, for excitement, for a fresh start in Los Angeles. She killed my son because she wanted a better Instagram backdrop. Your Honor, Lauren is 26 years old. She could be out of prison before she's 50. She could still have a life. Trevor was 28. He'll never be 29. I'm asking you to give her the maximum sentence, not for revenge, not for punishment, but because someone who can plan a murder this cold-bloodedly, who can watch someone suffer for months, who can fake grief while collecting insurance money, that person cannot be trusted in society. She'll do it again, to someone else. The next person she bores, the next person standing between her and the life she wants. Please, keep her in prison, keep everyone else safe from her, and let my son rest, knowing his killer paid for what she did. I sat down. Lauren's attorney stood to argue for leniency, talked about her youth, her lack of prior criminal history, her potential for rehabilitation. It sounded hollow after what I'd said. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Patricia Morrison, looked at Lauren. Miss Coleman, do you have anything to say before I impose sentence? Lauren stood. Her attorney tried to stop her. She shook him off. I just want to say, I'm sorry. The courtroom was silent. I'm sorry that Trevor died. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused. I made terrible choices and I'll have to live with them forever. She sat down. No tears, no emotion, just words. Judge Morrison's expression didn't change. Miss Coleman, I've been a judge for 23 years. I've sentenced murderers, rapists, child abusers. I've seen evil in many forms. But I have never seen premeditation as calculated as yours. You didn't kill in anger. You didn't kill in fear. You killed because your husband's personality didn't match your preferred lifestyle. You spent months planning his death. You researched methods. You executed your plan with precision. You documented your actions. You showed no remorse until you were caught. And even now, your apology sounds rehearsed, meaningless. The law allows you to sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole for first-degree murder with special circumstances. The special circumstances here are the calculation, the planning, and the utter callousness of your actions. Miss Lauren Michelle Coleman, I hereby sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. You will spend the rest of your life incarcerated. You will never again have the freedom to harm another person. Court is adjourned. The gavel struck. Lauren's face crumbled, real emotion finally breaking through. She turned to her attorney, crying, pleading, but the bailiffs were already approaching. They handcuffed her, led her away. She looked back at me once. I met her eyes, didn't smile, didn't gloat, just watched her disappear through the door that would close behind her forever. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Mrs. Coleman, how do you feel about the sentence? Do you think justice was served? What do you want people to know about your son? I stopped on the steps, looked at the cameras. I want people to know that Trevor was kind. He was smart. He was excited about life. He had dreams and plans and a future. And I want people to know that if someone you love dies and something feels wrong, trust that feeling. Investigate, push, demand answers. Because sometimes what looks like an accident is really murder. And sometimes the only person who will fight for justice is you. I walked away, got in my car, drove to the cemetery, sat by Trevor's grave. I got her baby. She's never getting out. She can't hurt anyone else. The wind rustled through the trees. I stayed until sunset. 6 months after the trial, I finally started sleeping through the night. Not every night, but some. The nightmares were still there. Trevor's car leaving the road, the phone call from the hospital, Lauren's face as she confessed. But they were getting less frequent. Life was finding a new normal. I went back to work at Madison Elementary. The kids were happy to see me, made me welcome back cards. One fifth grader gave me a hug and said, "I'm glad you're not sad anymore, Miss Coleman." I wasn't not sad, but I was functioning. That was progress. Denise visited every few weeks, made sure I was eating, sleeping, maintaining the house. "You did good, Monica," she said over coffee one Saturday. "You got justice for Trevor. You should be proud." I am, but it doesn't bring him back. No, nothing does. But at least he can rest in peace, knowing his killer is locked up. Marcus Chen stopped by regularly, too. We'd become friends through this ordeal, bonded by our love for Trevor and our determination to expose his killer. "I'm starting a scholarship fund," he told me in December. "The Trevor Coleman Memorial Scholarship for Computer Science students. I want his name to mean something positive." He'd love that. "Will you help me set it up? Be on the board?" Of course. The scholarship launched in January. We raised $50,000 in the first month. Trevor's coworkers contributed, his college friends, even people who just heard about the case and wanted to help. We gave our first scholarship in March. A brilliant kid from a low-income family who reminded me so much of Trevor it hurt. "This scholarship changes my life," he said at the ceremony. "I can actually afford to go to college now. I'm going to make Trevor proud." I hugged him. "You already are." The insurance money from Trevor's policy went to a legal fund, money to help other families investigate suspicious deaths, to hire private investigators, to push police departments to reopen closed cases. Because after my story hit the news, I was contacted by dozens of people. My daughter's death was ruled a suicide, but I think her boyfriend killed her. My brother died in a fall, but his wife inherits everything. The police won't listen. They say I'm just grieving, but I know something's wrong. I couldn't help everyone, but I could help some. The Trevor Coleman Justice Foundation funded 3 investigations in its first year. 2 cases were reopened. One led to an arrest. Another family got justice. Another killer exposed. It didn't bring Trevor back. Nothing would. But it gave his death meaning. I visited his grave every week, brought flowers, told him about the scholarship fund, the Justice Foundation, the lives we were changing in his name. I'd say, "You always wanted to make a difference. Even in death, you're doing it." One afternoon in April, a year after Lauren's arrest, a woman approached me at the cemetery, mid-30s, nervous expression. "Mrs. Coleman, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm Rachel Torres. My husband died in a car accident 3 years ago. The police said it was driver error, but after I heard about your case, I started asking questions, found repair receipts, mechanic reports, just like Trevor had." My chest tightened. "Did you go to the police?" "They reopened the investigation last month. They found evidence my husband's car was tampered with by his business partner, the one who took over the company after he died." Oh my God. "They're filing charges next week, and it's because of you, because you didn't accept the first answer, because you pushed, because your story showed me what to look for." She hugged me. "Thank you. You gave me justice. You gave my kids answers about their father." After she left, I sat by Trevor's grave and cried. Not sad tears, grateful tears, because something good had come from something terrible, because Trevor's death had stopped other killers, because justice had spread beyond one case. I thought about Detective Kowalski's words after Lauren's arrest. If you hadn't pushed, she would have gotten away with murder. How many people get away with it? How many accidents are really murders? How many killers walk free because no one questions the official story? I didn't know, but I knew now I'd spend the rest of my life trying to change that. The foundation grew. We helped more families, funded more investigations, exposed more killers. And every time we helped someone find the truth, I thought of Trevor, my brilliant, cautious, kind son who died because someone decided he was boring. My son who would never know his death changed laws, inspired training programs for police on recognizing staged accidents, led to new protocols for investigating single vehicle crashes. My son who became a symbol, a reminder, a call to action. Trust your instincts. Question the official story. Fight for truth. Because sometimes the only person who will fight for justice is you. And sometimes that fight changes everything. It's been 2 years since I found that shoebox. 2 years since receipts on a garage floor shattered my acceptance and ignited my determination. 2 years since I learned my son didn't die in an accident. He was murdered. But his murder led to justice, not just for him, but for others. The Trevor Coleman Justice Foundation has funded 47 investigations, 23 cases reopened, 11 arrests, 9 convictions so far, with more trials pending. 11 killers who thought they'd gotten away with murder, 11 families who finally have answers, all because I refused to accept accident when everything inside me screamed murder. Lauren is in Perryville Prison in Goodyear, Arizona, life without parole. She tried to appeal the conviction twice. Both appeals were denied. She'll die in prison. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Some crimes are too calculated for redemption. Some people are too dangerous for second chances. The scholarship fund has grown to $200,000. We've sent 12 students to college so far. 12 brilliant kids who remind me of Trevor, who carry his name forward, who make the world better because they got opportunities they wouldn't have had otherwise. Marcus Chen still runs the technical side of the foundation. We meet monthly to review cases. He's become like a son to me, not replacing Trevor. No one could, but family nonetheless. Detective Kowalski retired last year, came to our foundation gala, told me working Trevor's case changed how he investigates accidents now. I ask more questions, he said. I look deeper. I don't assume driver error just because it's easier. You taught me that. Those mechanics, Frank, Brandon, all of them, they testified, not just at Lauren's trial, but at training sessions for police, teaching investigators what to look for, how to recognize patterns of sabotage, what questions to ask. Trevor's death created ripples that spread far beyond Phoenix. But none of that brings him back. I still miss him every single day. I still catch myself reaching for my phone to call him, still turn around in grocery stores when I hear someone laugh like he did, still dream about him and wake up forgetting for just a moment that he's gone. Grief doesn't end. It just changes shape. But purpose helps. Fighting helps. Making sure his death meant something helps. Last week, I got a letter from a woman in Michigan. Her sister died in a fall downstairs. The husband inherited everything. Police closed the case. But she found my story online, found the foundation, reached out. We're funding an investigation, hiring a forensic expert, pushing for the case to be reopened. Maybe we'll find evidence. Maybe we won't. But we'll try, because that's what we do. We fight for the dead who can't fight for themselves. We speak for the victims who were silenced. We refuse to let killers hide behind words like accident and tragedy. So here we are, you and me, at the end of this story. But really, it's just the beginning, because I need to know something from you. Have you ever lost someone in an accident that didn't feel right? Have you ever had that nagging feeling that something was wrong, but you were told to accept it and move on? Drop a comment and tell me, because you might be right. That feeling might be your instinct recognizing what others missed. Where are you watching from right now? What city? What state? What country? I want to see how far this message has traveled, how many people are hearing Trevor's story and learning to trust their instincts. Do you know someone who needs to hear this? Someone who lost a loved one in suspicious circumstances? Someone who's been told they're crazy for questioning the official story? Share this video with them right now, because maybe Trevor's story will give them the courage to investigate. Maybe it'll save them years of wondering. Maybe it'll lead to justice for their loved one too. And if you're that person, if you're the one who knows something's wrong but everyone's telling you to let it go, listen to me. Trust yourself. Your instincts aren't grief talking. They're not paranoia. They're not conspiracy theories. Sometimes they're the truth trying to break through. Investigate. Ask questions. Push back when people tell you to stop. Hire a private investigator if you need to. Talk to mechanics, doctors, forensic experts, anyone who can give you answers. Don't let anyone tell you that seeking truth is disrespectful or unhealthy. Justice isn't disrespectful, truth isn't unhealthy, and your loved one deserves both. Hit that subscribe button if Trevor's story moved you, if it inspired you, if it reminded you that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they refuse to give up. Like this video if you believe in fighting for truth, even when it's hard. Comment below with your thoughts, your stories, your city, your questions. We're building something here, a community of people who refuse to accept easy answers, who trust their instincts, who fight for justice even when the system fails. The Trevor Coleman Justice Foundation has a website now, resources for families investigating suspicious deaths, contact information for forensic experts, private investigators, attorneys who specialize in these cases. You can find the link in the description. Because Trevor's death doesn't just have to mean something for me and my family. It can mean something for yours, too. This is Monica Coleman reminding you, trust your instincts, fight for truth, and never stop asking questions. Your loved ones deserve justice, and sometimes you're the only one who can get it for them. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Now go out there and make a difference.